If you love browsing through designer websites and catalogs to get inspiration for high-end decor ideas with an affordable price, you will truly enjoy the decor dupes I have planned today. Hey there, my name is Sandra, and you're watching The Schwowin's Nest. This first decor dupe is my absolute favorite. It turned out so great. It was $6 at a thrift shop. It's really heavy, and it's a wonderful candidate for a stone look finish. At first, I thought I would leave it as is, because here's a crate and barrel bowl the same size and style for $40, and that's a great dupe on its own. But then I found this gorgeous bowl at Olive Atelier, and I couldn't resist trying to duplicate it. I'm using all Dixie Belle products for this project, and if you want to try them out, I have a link for the US and Canada in my description box. The first step, of course, is giving it a good cleaning, which I did, and then a base coat of Driftwood mineral chalk paint. I'm going to work on the outside of the bowl first, and then once it's complete, I'll do the inside. I dried the first coat with my blow dryer to speed up the process, and now I'm adding French linen mineral paint, but with a round brush and a stippling or pouncing motion. This will be the first layer of texture on the bowl. I'm also not worrying about full coverage here because I want all of these colors to kind of show through and give it a lot of layers. This layer is going to have even more texture by using the first color, Driftwood, and Seaspray powder, which is a texture additive. It gives an amazing rough stone-like finish, like the piece has been sitting out in the weather for years, aging naturally. This mixture turned out super thick, so I added a splash of water to thin it just a bit. Using the same round brush and the stippling motion again, I'll apply it all over the bowl. The more sea spray you use, the thicker and chunkier the texture will be. You can also use a large amount of baking soda in paint to get a similar effect, but I've never been able to duplicate the little chunks with baking soda. The remaining mixture, I added a small scoop of putty mineral chalk paint and then continued adding the sea spray onto the bowl. Again, not covering the whole thing because I want all of those different shades to show through. After that, I still had some mixture left, so I added Hampton Olive, which is a muted dark green, and it was perfect to give the bowl a bit of a mossy, weathered appearance. I set the bowl aside to dry and then sealed it with a matte clear spray finish by Rust-Oleum to keep the texture firmly adhered to the bowl. If you don't seal the sea spray texture, it can chip off over time. Changing to a different application, I've got a damp paper towel and dabbing it into the chocolate mineral paint, I'll go over the bowl lightly to add depth and dimension. Once I have that look complete, I'm also going to add a touch of black acrylic paint in the same way, just in random areas to give this a cohesive and blended look. All of these techniques and colors make the bowl look natural and organic, and I don't think you can tell that it was originally made of glass unless you look on the inside. For the inside of the bowl, I used the same sequence of colors, but only used baking soda in the paint for the texture. I didn't feel it was necessary to add the sea spray on the inside because it's always going to have something in it for display. Here's another look at the Olive Atelier inspiration piece for $2,000, and here's mine for 6 and a little bit of paint. My next high-end decor dupe is from Crate and Barrel. This iron vase is so pretty, and I have the perfect paint to duplicate it. This is bronze patina paint, also by Dixie Belle, and it's available in copper and iron too. They are meant to be used with their patina sprays to give an aged and oxidized result like antique copper or iron. I did play around with the patina sprays and the three different colors on various materials, and this is what they look like using both the green and the blue spray. I do like that, especially for an outdoor planter or lantern. If you have any other ideas for the patina paint, let me know in the comments and I'll see if I can find something like that. I decided to stick with just the paint, and I think it's gorgeous. Even though the inspiration had a little more variation in color, I loved it this way. That's the beauty of doing your own decor dupes. You can use the expensive piece as inspiration and create a look that works for you. I started off using the sponge to apply the paint, but then decided that I didn't want all of that bubbly texture on this one. The inspiration pieces looked more smooth, even though they had a little bit of extra dimension with different colors. So I grabbed my paintbrush and just went over what I had already applied, and I definitely decided that this was the look for me. The vase was originally pink from a thrift shop. I believe it was only $3.50. I had done a paint technique on it already, but wasn't using it in my decor, so making it new again was the perfect solution. Here's another look at the $149 inspiration piece from Crate and Barrel. Although mine has a different shape, I'm still over the moon with how it turned out. I am still a farmhouse girl at heart, so when I saw these vintage bottles on the Olive Atelier site, I knew I had to make one. I found the perfect size and shape bottle in my stash. I don't remember if it was thrifted or if it had some type of syrup in it, but it really didn't matter. Using the color Sawmill Gravy from Dixie Belle, I sponged on the color so it would have more of a pottery texture. It did need 2 coats for coverage. It's interesting that Olive Atelier is calling these oil bottles because the one with the blue label on it is actually an old vintage beer bottle. When you're using a sponge brush, the trick to getting a uniform finish is to not press hard when applying the paint. That way, you don't get the circle shapes of the sponge. Instead, it's only the texture you see. While I was waiting for the paint to dry, I made this vintage olive oil label on my computer and printed it on regular white paper. I chose to go a bit of a different way for the writing on my bottle, but it still has that vintage feel, and it's more my style. I applied Mod Podge on the back of the paper and gently pressed it into place. Once the paper was dry, I covered the whole bottle with a couple of coats of Dixie Belle Gator Hide, which is a water-resistant top coat with a slight sheen. To finish off the bottle, I carved a wine cork down on the bottom so I could stick it into the opening of the bottle, and the top half would be about the same width as the bottle itself. I used dark wax on the cork to make it look old too. Here's another look at the Olive Atelier found vintage bottles for $160 each. Even though I love the look of them, I think my take on them is great too. Baskets are still very popular in home decor, and when you see one at the thrift store that is a great shape and size, it's hard not to get it. This one is from IKEA. It has a couple of spots where it's missing a piece, but that's an easy fix. I grabbed a small wooden piece that's easy to cut with scissors and that can be bent slightly. Using hot glue, I fixed both the areas, and now it's ready for paint. I took it out to the garage and spray painted it with a color called Mudslide. I really would have liked a deeper brown shade, but this is all I had at the time. Here's my inspiration for this basket from Pottery Barn. It has such a beautiful color, and although mine is a completely different pattern, it's still going to look great. Now that the basket is dry, I want to give it more dimension. Using brown antique wax all over it, applying it with a brush will bring out the different textures on the wood. Plus, it will darken the paint and eliminate any shine as well. This basket was only $7.99, a far better price than the $100 from the inspiration from Pottery Barn. The first project I'm doing today is a big wall clock. I'm going to make it look like a pallet. So I'm using some old fence boards and these smaller pieces to connect everything together. For the third board, I'm going to be just adding the glue as you see me doing here. Then I'll slide the board down into position and use my brad nailer to nail it in place. Here's the inspiration for this giant wall clock from Pottery Barn, and it's priced at $230. Next, I want to make a template for a round clock. I've got all my boards put together, so I took two pieces of craft paper and made them 30 inches in width, and so they were square. Now, what I'm going to do is mark off 15 inches from one corner, and that will give me the arc that I need to cut out to make myself a circle. Unfortunately, my template wasn't as long as it should have been on one side, so I am going to be a little bit short, but I'll just make up for that when I'm cutting it out. Now I'll open up the craft paper. I have my circle and I'll tape it down onto the boards. I've taken the board outside on my deck, and what I'm doing is clamping it in place because I don't want this to wiggle around while I'm using my jigsaw to cut it out. I am very much out of frame for this. You can see my jigsaw starting on the very left corner, and I'm just going to take my time and go very slowly to make sure I get the cuts that I want. And I'm just following my template of craft paper. This is the mechanism of the clock with the battery pack. And I'm going to be tracing a circle around it because I need to be able to access the battery compartment to change it once the battery runs out. Once I'm done that, I'm now going to create a smaller circle on the inside and I'm just going to freehand it. It's going to be a good quarter of an inch, perhaps 3/8 of an inch, just to make sure that the clock mechanism has somewhere to sit, but I can still access the battery compartment. So this inside circle is what I'm going to be cutting out. I'm taking this 1/2 inch spade bit and my drill, and I'll be drilling a hole right in the center of this circle. And that will give me the ability to insert my jigsaw blade and start making the cuts to cut out the circle. Once again, I'm going to secure it down to the bench so it stays in place when I'm using the jigsaw. Now it's really easy for me to insert my jigsaw blade and get started cutting on the circle. What I'm going to do is create
4 lines north, south, east, and west. And then I'm going to start making them a little bit bigger in thickness, which will allow me to get my jigsaw blade on the outside of each edge and then go around in a circle. In hindsight, I probably should have done some drill holes on the exterior of the circle rather than on the inside, because I ended up having to make some extra cuts to make sure I could get my jigsaw blade turned in the right direction to cut out the circles. Lesson learned for next time. I'm back inside, and now I'm going to just put this triple thick one coat clear finish Varathane on top of the clock. And what that's going to do is just seal it in, and it is going to give it a touch of a shine. This is just a satin finish on this product, but it's super thick, so you only have to put one coat on. It's going to change the color just a little bit, but that's okay. I got this Craft Smart black gel stain on clearance for $5 a while ago. I think it's probably a couple of years. I haven't used it very often, but it just came in handy for this project. These support pieces were still really bright with their natural wood, so being able to take that with a small brush and just put it on, and it actually matched the fence boards perfectly. I was so happy that this worked out. The next thing to do is to add the numbers. Now, I did use my X-Tool laser machine to cut out these really large numbers. I think you could probably purchase some on Amazon. I'll see if I can find a link for those if you're interested in creating a large clock. I'm going to add some wood glue to them first, glue them down onto the clock, and then I'm just going to come in with my brad nailer again and pop a couple of nails in each one to make sure they don't fall out.
I made this clock a few years ago. It never sold at the store I had it at, so now it's in my living room. I thought it would be fun to add this in because there's still so many big clocks on high-end websites that run anywhere from $200 to $500. So making a big clock like this probably would only cost you about $60. The mechanism is about $50 on Amazon. You can probably find some better prices now, but I do have them listed in my Amazon store. Looking at how I'm putting the mechanism in now seems a bit weird. I'm not sure why I didn't just make the hole big enough to place the clock part right into the hole. At some point, I may take it off the wall and fix it up better. All I need to do now is add the hanging hardware, and my clock is ready to go up on the wall. You'll notice in the pictures that I did end up painting the numbers black so they would pop out a little bit better. I hope you enjoyed these affordable dupes from high-end designer stores and got inspired to make some home decor for yourself. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.